Hi, I'm Liz Schrum of the Wisconsin Technology Council here at the 2011 Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Conference with WisBusiness.com, the show, brought to you by Grant Thornton, Whitehurst Beck Dudek, Madison Gas and Electric, and the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. On today's show, Tom Still talks about the rising interest in entrepreneurism on Wisconsin's college campuses. Plus, we'll talk to Tim Kane of the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation about the importance of startup companies to the national and state economies. I'll be right back with the WisBusiness.com stock report for early June.
Please hold. Your call is very important.
Does it seem like getting technical advice from business advisors can, well, take some time? At Grant Thornton, client access to partners has made them one of the largest accounting firms in the country. Grant Thornton.
And now, here's the WisBusiness.com stock report for early June. Rising Wisconsin jobs. A new state economic forecast predicts Wisconsin will add 183,000 jobs in the next 3.5 years. The State Revenue Department's economic outlook also says the state's unemployment rate, most recently a little above 7%, will fall to 5.5% in 2014, but that would still be above the state's pre-recession unemployment rate of 4.3% during the first quarter of 2008. And falling, home sales and prices. The Wisconsin Realtors Association says existing home sales fell significantly in April. Sales fell more than 30% compared to April of 2010. In addition, the median sale price was also down more than 8% to about $126,000. That's the WisBusiness.com stock report. Go to WisBusiness.com for more on these and other stories. And now, here's Tom Still with his Inside Wisconsin commentary.
San Francisco tech tycoon Peter Thiel is paying people not to go to college. Who knows, he may be onto something. Thiel isn't paying just any bunch of slackers to avoid ivy-covered walls. He's awarding $100,000 each to 24 young entrepreneurs whom he believes will help society more by chasing their dreams than by chasing a diploma. His foundation is called 20 Under 20, which is supported by money Thiel made through his co-founding of PayPal, an online payment service, and his early investment in Facebook. It's his way of saying entrepreneurs can and should come from all walks of life, not just the ranks of the college educated. If you don't believe that's true, just ask Bill Gates and Michael Dell, two college dropouts who did pretty well for themselves. Then again, going to college shouldn't be a barrier to becoming an entrepreneur. Inside the University of Wisconsin system, for example, more students are taking courses that should put them on the path to starting their own companies. Others are starting companies while pursuing their degrees. At the UW-Madison alone, more than 1,300 students were involved in entrepreneurship courses across the 42,000 student campus during the 2009-2010 school year, according to the UW-Madison Office of Corporate Relations. About 1,000 students took part in entrepreneurship events, such as the 100-hour challenge and business plan competitions. One such competition is the G. Stephen Burrell contest, which attracted 22 teams and 45 students in 2011 alone. The best indicator is that Wisconsin college students are launching real companies. At the UW-Madison, nearly 30 student-run companies were started in the last 2 years. Not all will survive, of course, but many will if past patterns hold. The same trend is accelerating at other UW campuses, where many students are realizing the best way to find a job in today's job market is to create your own. It's also a trend at private colleges such as Marquette University, where angel investor Tim Kane directs the Kohler Center for Entrepreneurship. Thiel is right. Not all entrepreneurs are college graduates, and they don't often need to be. People who start companies have diverse backgrounds, but more students are earning a degree while getting a head start on building their own companies. That's a powerful combination that may offer the best of both worlds.
Thanks, Tom. I'll be right back with Tim Kane of the Kauffman Foundation.
White Hirschbeck Dudek represents companies at all stages of development and in a wide range of industries to navigate the legal challenges of regional, national, and global growth. At WHD, every stage takes center stage.
I'm back with Tim Kane of the Kauffman Foundation, who was a keynote speaker at the 2011 Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Conference. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
My pleasure.
Briefly describe the Kauffman Foundation and tell us why it is so focused on the entrepreneurial economy.
You know, Kauffman has been around for more than a decade, but it's really about 7 years ago when we took on this mission and focused on entrepreneurship. It's one of the top 30 philanthropies in the U.S. We have a $2 billion endowment. But the story of the founder, Ewing Marion Kauffman, is really the key. He was a Kansas City entrepreneur, was enlisted in the Navy during World War II, and a pharmaceutical salesman who, when the pharmaceutical company he worked for tried to curtail his area because he was too successful, realized he could do well and branched out on his own. We found with research that we've funded from great economists around the country that most entrepreneurs, in fact, are 40 years old, 50 years old. So that's one of the things we focus on, is funding good research from others. We have sort of a small internal think tank. But the reason we focused on entrepreneurship is that was Mr. K's message, his vision and his life. You didn't have to be born into this. You didn't have to go to an elite university. And in fact, American spirit, our history, is really based on this notion of people being self-reliant, starting, making a job rather than taking a job.
You wrote a report in 2010 on the importance of startup companies to the U.S. economy. It concluded that all net job growth in the United States comes from startups. How did you reach that finding?
Yeah, Liz, I was surprised when I found that, but it really just started with a question. I wanted to know what percentage of jobs entrepreneurs are responsible for, and I assumed it would be 20% or 40%. So there's a new data set that the Commerce Department put out called Business Dynamic Statistics, which measures companies by age as well as size and the other things you think about. And it turns out that startups in the very first year of existence create 3 million jobs on average, and they've done that since, I think, 1977, when the data set was started. Now, to put that in contrast, all businesses in the U.S. added up create 2 million jobs. So for startups to create 3 million, that if you look at the other data, it shows you existing firms, the General Motors of this country, tend to lose jobs. That's what productivity does. It increases the efficiency of a firm, and they end up losing workers. So you need those startups, not companies that are 2 years old or 4 years old, but zero. You're getting a lot of little growth, little seedlings. Maybe they have 4 employees or 2 employees, but that's where 150% of the job growth in this country comes from, year after year. And so that's really an important message, I think, now for policymakers to figure out. It's not about a zero-sum game of getting a big factor to move from one state to another. Mayors and governors and presidents and senators need to realize we want to get a job agenda in this country going. It's going to be all about entrepreneurship.
By some objective measures, Wisconsin is not the most entrepreneurial state. Are we getting better as a state in starting and nurturing companies?
In some categories, you're getting better. I think it's important to show progress, but there's actually an index called the Rich State, Poor State Index, and I looked at it right before I was scheduled to come up here and speak, and I was really surprised to see that Wisconsin's ranked number 30 overall, much lower in some tax categories, which seems to be the biggest weakness. And I think the problem there is that Wisconsin seems to have every kind of tax. They have an income tax, a corporate income tax, a sales tax. Look at a place like Texas, they don't have an income tax at all. They fund themselves with a smaller government, and it's all driven by consumption taxation, which is actually smarter economically. You're not punishing your investors, and you're not punishing your entrepreneurs. You're letting them keep their returns and reinvest in the company. The bright side is that Wisconsin ranks near the top I think the ranking this year was number 6, could be number 1 in terms of economic freedom. So the experimentation, the charter schools, the different things that Wisconsin has really pioneered make it not only a great environment to create young entrepreneurs in that spirit of innovation in the kids and the students, the great college system here, but it's also attractive for successful entrepreneurs to want to move here with their kids because they see the good education system. So I think things are mixed, but I look at the progress I've seen on the tax front that Wisconsin's been doing for the last 20 years. As long as that keeps up and the education system's great, really poised for a rebirth of entrepreneurship here in the Midwest.
Thanks, Tim, and thank you for watching this edition of WisBusiness.com, the show. The show is produced by WisBusiness.com and the Wisconsin Technology Council, and sponsored by Grant Thornton, White Hirschbeck Dudek, MG&E, and UW Milwaukee. Visit our websites to read and learn more. I'm Liz Schrum. See you next time.